The United States of America has now deported an American citizen without any due process. It's about 5:50 p.m. Pacific time on Friday, April 25th, and as of about 40 minutes ago, the Politico was reporting that a United States citizen who is 2 years old was deported without any due process, along with her mother and sibling, who are not United States citizens. A judge says a 2-year-old U.S. citizen appears to have been deported with no meaningful process.
Now, I just want to pause right here and tell you what's going on to give you a little context, because this kid's parents are not U.S. citizens. So this is the very angle that Trump is attacking, trying to attack birthright citizenship. This is one of the cornerstones of their Project 2025 playbook, the Stephen Miller, the white Christian nationalist playbook, is they want to outlaw birthright citizenship, which is in the Constitution. If you're born on U.S. soil, you are a citizen, period. It does not require your parents to be citizens in the constitutional amendment. But they want to attack this. They want people who are born to undocumented people to not be citizens. And they want to be able to retroactively go after these U.S. citizens and remove them, because that has been it has been one of the immigration techniques. People will come here undocumented. They'll have the kid here, so the kid is a U.S. citizen, and then it increases their chances of staying here, which I don't see anything wrong with. Man, I don't have a problem with birthright citizenship. I don't have a problem with all of those immigrants becoming citizens. They want to come here, they want to work hard. Let them come. Let's fucking make them citizens. The more the goddamn merrier. But this case, though, is part of why this is happening, is because Trump is sort of attacking that birthright citizenship in every way he can. Every way he can. He's trying to get this in front of a judge. They're trying to get some kind of ruling that sort of dwells in a gray area. They want to run this. I don't see how they do this, though. I don't see how they're going to challenge this constitutional amendment. But maybe they're not. Maybe they're just going to start doing this kind of shit and just deporting them anyway and being like, fuck it, right?
Girl was deported Friday today with her mother to Honduras, despite the father's efforts to keep her in the U.S. A federal judge is raising alarms that the Trump regime deported a 2-year-old U.S. citizen to Honduras with no meaningful process, and despite the fact that her father had been petitioning the courts to keep her in the country. One of multiple notable things about this case is that the judge is a Trump appointee and has historically been pretty sympathetic to Trump. The judge said that the child, identified in court papers by the initials VML, appeared to have been released in Honduras earlier Friday. The child, her mother, and sibling were abducted by ICE last week. The court has her U.S. birth certificate. She was born in New Orleans in 2023. The government contends that this was all okay because the mother wished that the child be deported with her. But there's no evidence from the court to that fact. And her father has been fighting her deportation. The judge took it on himself to independently investigate what the fuck ICE is doing. Actually speak with the mother. The judge went on to say he was independently aware that the plane he believed was carrying the family was already above the Gulf of America, the Gulf of Mexico. Doty's sharp criticism of the Trump administration regime is particularly notable because he issued a series of major decisions in favor of Trump and his allies in recent years. Indeed, some conservatives considered Doty so likely to be in their camp that they filed lawsuits in his judicial division in order to have a strong chance of winning cases that were assigned to him. Even as Doty made it clear he was disturbed by the government's actions, in his order Friday, the judge seemed to tip his hat to the president, adopting the term Gulf of America for the body of water which is traditionally known as, which is the Gulf of Mexico. Several weeks ago, I talked about the cruel implementation of a policy from the Trump regime, which revoked the right of unaccompanied minor children to have a lawyer represent them in front of a judge. And just a couple of days ago, there was a bunch of reporting about little children who are sitting in front of TV screens in immigration court in New York City with no lawyers. Imagine expecting a 4-year-old child to represent herself in court. Shelters across New York, migrant children sit in front of computer and TV screens, appearing virtually in real court proceedings. They swivel in chairs, walk in circles, and play with their hair while immigration judges address them on screens in front of them.
Dude.
The reason we're here is because the government of the United States wants you to leave the United States. Judge 𝗣𝗢𝗟𝗪𝗧, presiding from a courtroom in Varick Street, told a group of about a dozen children on a recent morning on WebEx, "It's my job to figure out if you have to leave. It's also my job to figure out if you should stay."
Dude, what are we doing, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who's okay with this, right? You're telling me there are MAGA people that are okay with this, are okay with, you know, a dozen 4-year-old kids sitting in front of a TV screen having to deal with an immigration deportation proceeding by themselves. 9-iron, bro. Right to the fucking dome, bro. Oh, Trumpy! Dude, what are we doing? Dude, I'm just getting pissed now.
As the deportation of 𝗙𝗪 𝗪𝗧 becomes a flashpoint in the administration's new immigration policies, CNN has new reporting on another impact of Trump's strategy: major funding cuts, which have left many undocumented children to face their deportation proceedings alone. Here's Priscilla Alvarez with the Situation Room special report.
See, I believe what's going on is there's a program that funds attorneys to represent these kids. And I believe what Trump has done is he has just done what he's been doing with all of this. He has just been rat-fucking these programs, right? By rat-fucking the program, then there's nothing they could do, and they can just insta-ship people.
Tuvieron que cruzar la frontera de México con Estados Unidos, ¿verdad?
This story time starts at the U.S. southern border. It's a tale for children who crossed into the United States alone and are in government custody. Fulanito, a cartoon cat, is supposed to represent them. The lesson, almost impossible to imagine for a child, how to navigate the U.S. immigration system alone.
Dude, what are we doing?
Un derecho muy importante que Fulanito tiene ahora que está aquí en los Estados Unidos es el derecho de ir a la Corte de Migración.
Evelyn Flores of the amica Center for Immigrant Rights gives this presentation to kids in custody weekly. And she's not alone. Legal service providers serve a critical role for unaccompanied kids, whether preparing for court or getting ready for school. Now, those lessons are taking on added significance amid concerns that children will be stripped of the very legal services they need.
This image that you share in your storytelling could be all a child has to get through their immigration proceedings.
Yes.
The termination of a federal contract for legal services has left organizations like amica scrambling, and the thousands of children they and others serve potentially facing deportation proceedings alone. Without attorneys, advocates say, kids don't stand a chance.
Yeah, of course they don't. Yeah, no shit. Without attorneys, guys, you ready? Without attorneys, kids don't stand a chance. Shocking. Oh, bro. Dude, this shit just makes me mad, right? And here it is.
It's a power struggle involving politics, money, and in this case...
And there was a legal order, right? A court order to restore funding for this.
It's a power struggle involving politics, money, and in this case, kids. The Trump administration has not complied with the federal court order, which calls to restore funding to legal aid groups.
Remember how we were just watching Pam Bondi talk about arresting judges for impeding a legal proceeding? Well, here's another one where Trump has gotten a legal court order to do something and he's defying it. He's, impeding a legal proceeding.
Who represent unaccompanied children in court. That money remains frozen while the White House appeals.
Investigative reporter 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗓 Gutierrez has been following this case out of a San Francisco courtroom. She joins us now with the latest.
It's been 3 weeks since a judge granted a temporary restraining order that would restore the funds for now. But legal aid groups tell us they're still not seeing the money and children are facing judges alone.
Are you,
dude,
a little nervous this morning? See? You know what a lawyer is?
No. Dude.
No?
What the f are we doing, bro?
This is a reenactment of a child's removal proceedings in immigration court.
Dude, it's a reenactment. I thought this was an actual fucking proceeding and I was about to go ballistic, but it is a reenactment.
You know what a lawyer is?
According to legal aid groups like the Immigrants Defenders Law Center, it's something that's happening more often since the Trump administration cut funding to provide legal aid to unaccompanied children last month.
We know that at least a few children have been removed, right? They had court appearances before a judge, and because there was no one to stand with them in court, they either took a voluntary departure or were ordered removed.
3 weeks ago, U.S. District Judge 𝗙ecie𝗶𝗪 granted a temporary restraining order that should have kept the federal funding flowing while proceedings continued. But the legal aid groups say that never happened, and they're only seeing delays from the government.
Yeah, dude, by the way, these are the people that claim to be Christians, right? Trump is the Christian, right? The Christians voted for this guy. This is what the Christians are doing. Can you imagine being an evangelical? Like, how do they think their God is looking at this shit and giving them the thumbs up? You know what I'm saying? Like, how on earth are they, what kind of mental illness are they grappling with that they think their God's like a fan of this?
Multiple motions seeking to delay any compliance with the court's order. They filed a motion to dissolve the temporary restraining order. They filed a motion seeking the recusal of the judge in the case. And they also filed an appeal of the temporary restraining order.
In court filings opposing the order, the Trump administration argues the federal government has discretion in how it distributes federal funds. Although the money was authorized by Congress, Congress never mandated its spending, they wrote. The legal aid groups say the funding cuts have resulted in layoffs and confusion. According to their court filings, since the funding stopped, they've seen children as young as 5 sitting at tables alone, facing judges.
The American public hears this and they think these were once upstanding people in their communities and their professions, and they put it all on the line for this. I mean, have you dug into their motive? Like, what inspired them to carry out these acts and harbor criminals?
They're deranged is all I can think of. I cannot believe, I think some of these judges think they are beyond and above the law, and they are not. And we're sending a very strong message today. If you are harboring a fugitive, we don't care who you are. If you are helping hide one, if you are giving a TDA member guns, anyone who is illegally in this country, we will come after you and we will prosecute you. We will find you.
If I could just finish off with this idea, very significant development that you're arresting judges now. Now, it could be that the judges have engaged in terribly bad behavior and deserve to be arrested. But you know what critics will say? They'll say, "Oh, this is a government that is expanding the powers of the Article 1 of the Constitution. Now they're arresting judges." How do you respond to that?
No one is above the law, John. No one is above the law in this country. And if you are destroying evidence, if you are obstructing justice, when you have victims sitting in a courtroom of domestic violence and you're escorting a criminal defendant out a back door.
Dude, the self-righteousness. If you are letting a defendant out the back door, if you are a woman and owing $500 million and not paying it, or having 34 felony counts, or refusing to divest from your financial interests as president, or disobeying the Supreme fucking Court, yeah, you nasty bitch, or January 6th, no one is above the law except that racist fucking piece of shit, right? That Epstein's buddy that she's fucking, giving the fucking double handy to.
It will not be tolerated, and it is a crime in the United States of America. Doesn't matter who you are, you're going to be prosecuted.
What is up, guys? Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, you want to support independent resistance media, you know what to do. Drop that sub, hit the like button, and please share it. And we do love our members, so if you want to become a member, it's another really great way to support. Thanks again for everything, guys. I'll see you next time. Let's go.